And, I think one of the things that Stone was saying about, like, leaving the lights on, the eyes open, is like, you don't necessarily have to do that. If you have something you really want to do, eh, you, you just, the mind just, thoughts evoke visual imagery right away. I mean,
Mhm.
it just happens, right? So it's not like you have to evoke a specific imaginal scene. It often helps for some of us, to go there, because we feel fulfilled. Like when I'm on the beach, I'm like, it's done. Like I already have what I want. I'm relaxed, and in that setting, it's very easy for me to be creative because there's no pressure there. But for someone else, it can just be sitting there and waiting to see what comes up, and you think about what you really want. And Stone did this for crazy stuff. I mean, Stone gave more money to Richard Nixon. They had to change the campaign finance laws because of W. Clement Stone. He's the reason why. Like, everyone else, I'm frankly not a fan of Richard Nixon, or necessarily Stone's politics or whatever, but Stone was behind Richard Nixon. And there's that thing, I think it's in the Wikipedia page even, for Stone. Like, they'd have the campaign the people asking for donations, and they said, yeah, everyone else, they'd be trying to squeeze nickels and dimes out of, and they're like, this guy, we had to say, like, no, you can't give that much, you can't give, like, you can't, he just kept on giving and giving and giving, because he understood the compound subconscious effect of doing something like that. And that's why, I mean, I love talking about W. Clement Stone, because you're just talking about someone, as like Neville, Joseph Murphy, H.M. Lee Cady. These are great teachers, very metaphysical and far more elegant and beautiful and articulate than Stone. But you want to talk about someone who understood these principles in a deep way and got stuff done. I can't think of, I don't know of anybody the last 100 years who did that more than Stone. I mean, Coué got a lot of stuff done, meaning he cured, or helped cure thousands and thousands and thousands of people. But like in the business world, W. Clement Stone, he was a businessman, but he was so interested in self-development. I mean, he founded Success Magazine, for instance, and he wrote with Napoleon Hill. He was so into the psychology of it, and he just clearly got it. And at the same time, he became a billionaire, and that's something. And he gave away hundreds of millions of dollars. So that's something that I don't think most of these manifesting teachers, as great as they are, um, they don't have the outer results that Stone had. And that is just something, because I know a lot of people get into this stuff they're like, I feel okay spiritually, but like I want to see better outer results. I want to see better results in my relationships and my work, in my health. Stone's a really good guy to go to, because he's not overly esoteric about it. He would say, you try and you try again. And the difference between his effort, and I think a lot of people's effort, is that he realized that the imagination played a huge part in the effort that you give. Um, so I I really am a big fan. Ashley asked, what was the effect of him donating so much so he could receive more? Yeah, I mean, actually, this is a whole. I'd love, we can talk about this as much if you want, for sure. I love talking about it. There's a theory that a lot of people have, is that the more you give, the more you get back, not just financially, but in terms of wealth. I mean, that's in the LOA community, that's talked about a lot. Stone is prime example of that, like of where um, he literally realized that if I give freely with no he this is in the audio that I sent. It's near the end of the audio. The last 30 minutes of that audio, it's about 2 hours long. He talks about this, and I think a little bit about the Success Indicator, if I remember correctly. He there was a book called The Magnificent Obsession. I don't know if you guys have ever read it. It's like 100 years old, but it had a profound effect on Stone's life. And he said, I realized that if I give with no intention of doing anything in return and out of pure love, I get a 10,000 time return. And that's like, you hear a lot about like a 10x return. Catherine Ponder talks about that. There's a great book called Seed Money in Action where they talk all about that. These are great. I mean, the Dynamic Laws of Prosperity, Catherine Ponder, that's a classic. But like Seed Money in Action is a fascinating book talking about when you just give with all your heart because you literally want to give, you get 10 times the return. Stone didn't say that. He said you get 10,000 times the return. And he meant that. That wasn't like a glib statement. He realized that. And so, yeah, he would always give money away, like constantly give money away. And like, I'm not, again, like value wise, like I could never, I wouldn't want to live the life that he lived. He was very much, especially in the early, just first 50 years of his life, in expanding his insurance business and, making it sure that it was the largest in the country, basically, like he had that framework where he wanted to create this gigantic business network, which I personally like. That's, I don't have motivation like that. I just have different interests, but we're getting at the same thing when we all are talking about this. It doesn't matter what you do. It's actualizing it. And again, Stone got more stuff done than just about anybody. When you look at results, him and his wife lived to be 100 years old, or his wife died when she was like 99 or something like that. And he had plenty of failures, plenty of failures. So just a good example of someone who knew how to get stuff done by utilizing the subconscious, not just by pure effort, but by maximizing effort by utilizing the subconscious.